Hello, welcome to BBC News. Our main headlines. Both Donald Trump and Joe Biden say that they have a path to the White House with results still due from some key states. But there's a bitter battle over how long they should go on counting postal votes. Well, the Trump campaign is launching a legal challenge against the results in Wisconsin, Michigan and Pennsylvania. US media have already called Wisconsin for Mr. Biden. The US Democratic challenger, Joe Biden, has said that he believes he's won enough votes to secure the presidency, but he stopped short of declaring victory and said that he was confident that when all votes had been counted, he would be victorious.
During this funny clip from the Conan O'Brien show, Conan shows his pervy and flirtatious side when model Miranda Kerr sits down on the couch.
Thank you.
Yes, you look so beautiful. That is an incredible dress that you've been dipped into.
It goes well with your tie.
What's that?
It goes well with your tie.
Yeah, we go very well together. Yes, let's get closer, shall we?
In the presidential election, as President Trump and former Vice President Joe Biden remain locked in tight battles in key battleground states. As of midday, it was unclear when the race would be officially called. In Georgia, officials say the vote count could be completed by the end of the day, but Pennsylvania Governor Tom Wolf warned that results there might not be known today, saying it'll take extra time to count millions of mail ballots. And in Nevada, election officials said additional vote totals wouldn't be released until tomorrow. U.S. stock markets rose sharply as investors absorbed the election results. Traders saw the lack of a clear mandate from voters as a sign that broad policy changes would be less likely. By midday, the Dow Jones Industrials were up more than 700 points, or 2.6%. The Nasdaq was up more than 4%, and the S&P 500 was more than 3% higher. In the U.S., reported more than 91,000 new coronavirus cases on Election Day, its second highest daily tally, and hospitalizations topped 50,000. The surge in cases and stockpiling of N95 masks in much of the country have put fresh strains on the supply of critical protective gear. That's according to manufacturers and health officials. Many healthcare facilities continue to ration and reuse masks, even as manufacturers have increased production. Some state health departments say they expect supplies to tighten further. We'll have the latest on the vote count and a roundup of the day's election news later this afternoon on our What's News podcast.
States where the polls are closed, but vote counting is far from over in a pivotal presidential election. With the outcome too close to call, Republican incumbent Donald Trump has threatened legal action.
So we'll be going to the U.S. Supreme Court. We want all voting to stop. We don't want them to find any ballots at 4 o'clock in the morning and add them to the list.
Trump provided no further explanation of his intentions. He also claimed victory, even though a number of key states are still up for grabs, and he alleged election fraud without providing any evidence. The campaign manager for Democratic contender Joe Biden called Trump's statement outrageous and unprecedented. She said the campaign's legal team is ready to fight Trump in court and win. Earlier, Biden told supporters in Delaware the election results look good.
We believe we're on track to win this election. We knew because of the unprecedented early vote and the mail-in vote that it's going to take a while. We're going to have to be patient.
Despite these claims, it's still unclear who will take the presidency. Our U.S. partner ABC News is projecting Trump will take the key battleground of Florida and Texas. The crucial Midwestern state of Ohio, which usually swings to the overall winner, is also projected to go to Trump. But Biden is still very much in contention in a presidential race that will most likely come down to a few key wins. ABC News is also projecting the Democrats will maintain control of the House of Representatives. Both Trump and Biden have spent a lot of time and money campaigning in North Carolina, Arizona, Wisconsin, Michigan, and Pennsylvania. Those races have yet to be called and will likely decide who takes the presidency. This has been an unprecedented election year in the U.S., both because of the coronavirus pandemic and because of a widening social rift. For many, these close results seem to point to a deeply divided country, with supporters on both sides saying the stakes are high.
And I did what I thought was right, and I voted for righteousness, and I stood up for the principles that I grew up as a Christian believer. So that's why I vote Republican.
I believe that if Trump's isolationist policies continue, we're not going to have advocacy for peace between nations.
Businesses in many parts of the U.S. boarded up their windows in advance of Tuesday's vote with the expectation that rioting could break out. But so far, no major incidents have been reported. Now, countries across Asia are also paying close attention to how this presidential election is playing out. Pacheri Raksawong at our bureau in Bangkok has the details.
Here in Thailand, people are watching the voting results with keen interest as local TV channels devote special coverage to the unfolding events in the U.S. The programming features breaking news reports of ballot counting while experts provide commentary. Some of them expect to see stepped-up cooperation between the U.S. and ASEAN if Biden wins. They are concerned that those ties could become damaged if Trump continues his America First policy for 4 more years. Trump skipped ASEAN summits last year and in 2018, disappointing many member countries. The snub gave them the impression Washington doesn't hold ASEAN members in high regard while it confronts China. In India, the people have a special reason to stay tuned. Biden's running mate is Kamala Harris, whose mother came from India. Many Indians say they are truly excited at the idea of Harris becoming a key member of the next administration.
Being the vice president of such a big country is really a prideful moment for the Indians itself.
Others are Trump supporters. Prime Minister Modi and the U.S. president enjoy a warm relationship and have described each other as friends on many occasions. Even some temples are holding special prayers for the candidates. Groups are preparing small celebrations once the results are final. Experts say that regardless of who wins, India stands to benefit from improved relations with the U.S. The election comes while China is trying to expand its power and influence in areas surrounding India. Turning to South Korea, regardless of who wins, Pyongyang's nuclear program will remain a vitally important item on the agenda. People in Seoul have been watching the local media's continuous coverage of the U.S. elections.
Regardless of the result, I hope South Korea and the U.S. will continue their solid alliance. In the event of North Korean provocation, I think we can overcome the issue based on strong bilateral relations.
South Korean President Moon Jae-in reportedly has not scheduled any official engagements on Wednesday and Thursday so that he can focus on responding to the election's outcome. Politicians and advisors are gaming all possible scenarios in the offices and corridors of the Blue House. The government is expected to send Foreign Minister Kang Kyung-hwa and Seoul's top nuclear envoy Lee Do-hung to visit the U.S. in the near future. China's response has been muted so far. A foreign ministry spokesperson says the election is a matter of internal affairs for the United States and won't comment on it. Coverage by state-run media outlets is also low-key. Even so, Chinese officials have been keeping a close eye on what the two candidates have been saying about China while on the campaign trail. Beijing is expecting the relationship will remain tense regardless of who occupies the White House from January. Some experts here say if Biden wins, he would put a bigger priority on high-level talks with Beijing, although that is no guarantee of a major improvement in the relationship. They believe Biden would mend ties with Western allies and try to promote more of a united front against China. That wraps up our bulletin. I'm Pacheri Raksawong in Bangkok.
Now to the latest on the coronavirus situation here in Japan. The governor of the northern prefecture of Hokkaido and the mayor of its biggest city, Sapporo, are united in stepping up prevention measures. Infections are increasing there once again. Prefectural officials confirmed 75 new cases on Wednesday. 51 of them are in Sapporo. The tally in the prefecture surpassed 70 for the 33rd day in a row. The leaders are weighing ways to strengthen preventive measures. These include requesting establishments that serve alcohol in Sapporo's entertainment district to reduce business hours.
We have a strong sense of crisis over the current situation. I think now is the crucial moment. We must implement stronger measures.
Meanwhile, Japan's government approved a measure allowing 10 taxi companies in Tokyo to reject passengers who refuse to wear face masks. The operators pushed for the move to protect their drivers and customers. Now, Tokyo officials confirmed 122 new cases on Wednesday. The figure brings the total number in the capital to more than 31,000. Japan's prime minister says the government has no plans to build nuclear plants or reactors in the nation as it aims to become carbon neutral by the year 2050. Suga Yoshihide was responding to questions from the leader of the main opposition party in the lower house budget committee.
Many people who were forced to evacuate after the 2011 accident at the Fukushima Daiichi nuclear plant are still unable to go back home. Japan must end reliance on nuclear power as soon as possible, and it is inconceivable to build a new nuclear plant.
I've declared that Japan would become carbon neutral by 2050. Despite differing views within my Liberal Democratic Party, at this point, the government has no plan to build or expand any nuclear plants.
But the industry minister says the government plans to keep upgrading safety measures at the country's plants, so nuclear energy will remain an option through 2050. He says that includes developing new technologies such as advanced innovative reactors. Now, the country's nuclear regulator says it will not disclose problems at nuclear power plant backup facilities until after they're resolved. It says the measure is necessary to prevent terrorism. The Nuclear Regulation Authority requires utilities to put in place backup facilities such as control rooms and generators in case of an accident or a terrorist attack. The country's first will be completed this month at Kyushu Electric Power Company's Sendai plant in southwestern Japan. The regulator says it'll disclose serious problems that may lead to a halt in operations at a reactor, but will withhold details. The regulator normally announces any trouble at nuclear plants, but says it's making an exception to avoid the risk that terrorists could learn details about the facilities. One expert on the link between science and society says the government and utilities should still be responsible for explaining why information on such problems is withheld. Egypt has lifted import restrictions on fishery products from 7 Japanese prefectures. It imposed them following the 2011 Fukushima Daiichi nuclear accident. The move means import restrictions on Japanese food products have been completely eliminated across Africa. Egypt maintained radiation tests on fishery products from Fukushima and 6 other prefectures even after it eased other import conditions in stages. Japan's Fisheries Ministry said it was informed by the Egyptian government restrictions were lifted as of Monday. 18 countries and regions, including China and Taiwan, continue to have conditions for food items produced in some parts of Japan. The Japanese government says it'll push the countries and regions to scrap the restrictions.